Pegasus. I want you guys to understand once again, okay? I'm showing you guys a big part of the grand segregation here, okay? Like, guys, I haven't even touched the barrier of like the things that are really hidden in this map yet. And the fact of the matter is that this map is a work of art. It really is. Like, it was meant to be formed for images, and these things will pop up more and more, you know, that we actually recap on them and start segregating them now.
Hi guys, Herbalist40 here, welcome back. So I just basically played you a short extract of Wispy's latest video, well, Jesus Toast video anyway, I believe it was episode 3. The last part I showed you, he said that the map was a work of art, and I couldn't agree more with that. It really is, and I just want I want to point out, have you ever heard the expression, it takes one to know one? I really think that we all need to lend quite a huge amount of credit towards Wispy right now for even pointing that out. I think he's taken the research. I know some of you are all looking for physicalities, but sometimes physicalities aren't just unlocking good shit in the game. Sometimes the physicalities are staring at that map for hours upon end and actually, you know, coming close to revealing something that big. You know, that must have been quite a moment for him. And you know, at the end of the day, I just want to lend credit to that. I mean, that's pretty fucking amazing in my opinion. But also, as usual, I like to bring a couple new things to the table. So when I saw that, it kind of pushed me to go and have a second look at Pegasus and review some things I already knew about Pegasus. And obviously, because of that, I'm gonna take the opportunity here to kind of prove to you guys that just because there are multiple versions of one story does not mean that they are not all useful. So basically, the easiest way I'm gonna put this here is that I had a vague memory that predates GTA in itself, that I'd heard something called, well, it doesn't predate GTA in itself, sorry, predates me playing GTA 5. Doesn't predate me playing any previous games, but GTA 5 in particular. And basically what I'd heard about, whilst investigating certain things on the internet, I'd heard about a little something called Project Pegasus. And talking about Project Pegasus, these are a few interesting things here that I'm going to point out that Project Pegasus has led me to. So first of all, if we're going to talk about this project, we're going to talk about Andrew Basiago. And basically I'll read out here in case you can't see it for yourselves. He is a Vancouver, Washington lawyer of apparently high repute. So the important thing to note about this guy is that he's not just some bum who's spouting a load of ideas. He's actually got quite a reputation backing him up. He's quite a intelligent human being and quite a stable background to him as well. But anyway, as a side project, he runs Project Pegasus, a group dedicated to lobbying the government to release the secrets of teleportation and time travel for the benefit of mankind. Basiago also refers to himself as the discoverer of life on Mars, the red planet. He claims to be one of 2 planetary level whistleblowers predicted by Webbot. He describes himself as an indigo child. Now that's what I'm going to be focusing on today, is kind of indigo child, and where all these things here, all these little blue elements you can click on in a Wikia page or in a wiki page, you know, they're there for a reason. If you just stick to one page and don't follow these links, don't ever expect to understand the full story. And this is where I'm going to revisit something quickly before we move into Indigo Child. I don't know if you can see this, so I'm quickly going to zoom in for you. But basically, this is all highly tied to Nikola Tesla. And more precisely, He began telling the story that he had. This is Mr. Basiago, Andrew Basiago. He began telling the story that he had been a child participant in a top secret DARPA program experimenting with time travel and teleportation in the early 1970s. These technologies were invented, of course, by Nikola Tesla. Now I just want to point out here that this is what happens if you just focus on one Wikipedia page or one person such as Nikola Tesla and don't explore the other possibilities and don't understand the bigger links. And by showing you this, I'm hopefully going to help a lot of you understand why we're here making all these long ass videos that take a lot of time to build up to anything substantial. The reason is because if we want to build up to anything substantial at all, this is a necessary step. You can't just expect to shoot in the dark all day long and hope to find something at the end. I'd like to point out that it took them 5 years to make GTA 5, but a lot longer for them to build up to this kind of a mystery. And there's quite a lot of them, there's quite a lot of money backing up this project, and for us to sit here and think that we can just I don't know, I'm not going to say throw sticky bombs and shit and hope for doors to open, but I am kind of saying that, like, you're not really going to get anywhere. Like, I think there's only one thing left to do now, and it's really indulge ourselves in certain parts of the symbolism that's given to us. And to be quite honest with you, I hadn't planned to do this today, so it's a little bit unsteady, unclear maybe, but I'm just going to clarify exactly what it is I'm getting at. And that was the Indigo Child reference, and I clicked on Indigo Child, but before I show you that, I'll show you quickly. Here we have the Pegasus Project website if you want to check that out. Quite a ton of information here. Obviously the Pegasus, as you can see, the winged horse, sometimes he's represented as a unicorn Pegasus I've seen as well. It seems like he might have a little horn coming out. But I'm not really going to get into that. This is also the DARPA Project Pegasus, a little bit of information on that. So it's basically military time travel. But anyway, get into it. Indigo Child, and Mr. Basiago basically claims to be an indigo child. Now, indigo children are people whose auras are indigo in colour. For those of you who don't know, indigo is a shade of bluish purple. Allegedly they are somehow aliens or part alien or something, and do have, no sorry, I'm not even going to go into that because this kind of seems to be, actually I will, and don't have autism spectrum disorders or attention deficit disorder or anything like that. Now stop saying that right now. I'll explain that vaguely, is that obviously anyone who starts speaking of conspiracies is kind of labelled as a kook, or an idiot, or a lot of things like this, but it's not too relevant for the moment. What we're going to stick to is indigo children are people whose auras are indigo in colour. So that led me to look up auras. Now, what's very interesting about auras is that for once we can kind of make a little bit of sense about what our characters' colours actually represent. So if I zoom in here a little bit, we have here green, which would obviously represent Franklin. Now, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, but on my YouTube page, my banner, I've actually chosen Michael to be gold, Franklin to be green, and Trevor to be red. That's kind of one of my own personal little Easter eggs, but I'm going to get into that into the future. But if we stick to the colours that we're given in game, which is green for Franklin, orange for Trevor, and blue indigo for Michael. Now, green supports balance, harmony, love, communication, social, nature, and acceptance. Now, I know at first hearing of this, you may not correlate it to Franklin quite so easily, because he's kind of a dude from the hood and that. He's more or less grown up in a concrete environment, as you may say. But as far as metaphors go and symbolism and ideology, he is kind of the nature and the balance in between Michael and Trevor, if you see what I mean. He also has Chop, and we are kind of encouraged to walk Chop, take care of Chop, so that's kind of a link to nature or Mother Nature and the elements that go with that, so animals, love, harmony, balance, all that's kind of connected in itself. Now Franklin is also the only character who can purchase the marijuana shops. Nature and marijuana, obviously marijuana being a plant has a correlation, but nature and marijuana has a deeper correlation when you take the Rastafarian religion. So that's why I kind of feel like green actually goes well with Franklin. Now, as far as orange goes, I'm gonna point out what it says here, but there are some deeper links to Trevor than what I'm gonna say right now, and we'll get to those in a second. But basically, orange, people who have orange auras, it stimulates creativity, productivity, pleasure, optimism, enthusiasm, emotional expression. Now, again, that might not seem like something you would attribute to Trevor if you were asked to describe Trevor. Those are probably not the words you'd choose. But think about it. Understand what words actually mean. So the interesting words here are pleasure, optimism, enthusiasm, and emotional expression. Okay, I'm going to point out quickly that apparently there is no such thing as a bad aura, but there is obviously such a thing as good and evil. So even if auras aren't bad, there are perception of... I can't really explain what I mean by this, but I'm sure you understand what I'm getting at. But carrying on to blue and indigo, basically this aura increases calmness, peace, love, honesty, peace, kindness, truth, inner peace, emotional depth, and devotion. So again, truth is something that keeps coming back as far as blue and indigo are concerned. I've seen it quite a few times and I find that very interesting, that obviously the epsilon colours, the links to seeking out the truth, understanding the truth, knowing the truth, and all of that. But again, moving on, I hope I'm at the right part of this particular page. Yes, I am. Now, here we have the green aura. Now, I am going to read this. I'm sorry for the time it might take. I am going to skip a couple bits, but this is kind of interesting in itself. Now, green aura people are highly creative and very hard working. They strive for perfection in everything they do. They have a very determined and down-to-earth nature and will not allow fanciful dreams and unrealistic ideas to colour their world. Their creativity takes the form of practical matters such as gardening, cooking, home decorating. The green aura individual has a fine eye for beauty and will ensure their appearance and clothing, home and surroundings are both practical and beautiful. Okay? Now, that in itself, I kind of want to discard, but where it gets a little bit more in depth is green aura people tend to be very popular, admired and respected. Now, if he's not wearing his Children of the Mountain t-shirt, people are quite familiar with Franklin around Grove Street. People know him, people shout out for him. He is a popular, admired and respected member of his community. People come to him for help. Again, I know this isn't like point blank obvious when you look at Franklin, but it's meant to be that way, trust me. Anyway, they make for very successful business people and can create much wealth and prosperity for themselves. Green aura people like security, stability and balance in their lives. I want to point out now again that Franklin is not actually comfortable being at his aunt's house. He doesn't enjoy it at all. He is seeking balance, stability, security in his life. His relationship situation doesn't necessarily please him that much. So all this kind of correlates, and any plans they make are well thought out, and because of this they seldom make rash mistakes. That's kind of relevant to Franklin in a lot of ways as well. Now, if we carry on here, we have the orange aura, and again this is like another description of what the orange aura may or may not mean, but they kind of don't vary that far from each other depending on the opinion of certain websites. They're all kind of the same, but some of them just give a little bit more depth than others do, and that's why I'm taking the time to show you different examples. Orange aura people are gregarious, generous, social souls. They love to be in the company of others and don't mind being the centre of attention. If Trevor isn't the centre of attention in every cutscene we have with him, then I don't know what the hell he is. But anyway, they want to please others and are often the best gift givers, being very thoughtful and generous. Now, I know he may not come across that way, but in his own mind, Trevor is very thoughtful and very generous. He's always seeking to give something to those around him in his own mind. Now, I know that you may not see him that way. This is what I mean by understanding every single aspect of something. Now, the Orange Aura individual is normally good-hearted, kind, and honest. Out of the two, Trevor is more or less the most honest one if you look at Trevor and Michael. But anyway, they are very in tune to the emotions of others and can sense and feel their pain and joy. And Trevor kind of mirrors this in his own weird way. But Orange Aura people can be very charming, but part of their charm is their sensitivity to others. Sensitivity to others has a duality in that meaning. It can be sensitive as in approaching kindly and gently, and there's sensitivity when you're sensitive to the way others react, and Trevor is very sensitive to the way people react to him. They have the ability to make everyone feel at ease in their company. Again, you may not see it this way, but in Trevor's mind, the way he's reacting, he's making people feel at ease with him. Like he's trying to get them to understand if you piss around with him, he will kill you. Period. Point blank. Do not do it. And it's all kind of metaphorical and unclear, but believe me, there is quite a bit of credibility to all of this. But carrying on to not make it too long, the Orange Aura individual cannot be headed and quick. Can be hot-headed and quick to lose their temper. But on the positive side, they are equally quick to forgive and forget if a sincere apology is offered and accepted. They do not hold grudges. Now again, I know he does kind of hold grudges in a way, but he doesn't. If you think about Michael, and he's willing to forgive and forget, let's say that, in his own strange, crazy, psychopathic way, this all relates to Trevor. Now to finish off on the Orange Aura people are confident of the impression they make on others and can use this to their advantage. Again, Trevor. They tend to lead a very successful and happy lives. On the downside, Orange Aura people tend to be impatient and tend to rush into projects, relationships, and experiences too quickly. They normally need to act immediately and consider the consequences later. Now, I'm not sure if you actually got all that in the screen. It's there for you now if you wanted to pause and read through that again, but trust me, then they normally need to act immediately and consider the consequences later. If that is not 100% Trevor, then I don't know what is. Right, so we've come down here for the last of our three colours on this page, and it is blue, whether it be indigo, cyan, light, dark. This kind of gathers them all up into one kind of ideal. But I'm going to start off with this paragraph, which is: Blue Aura people are the master communicators of the world. They have the ability to convey their thoughts, ideas, views and concepts eloquently and charismatically. They make for excellent writers, poets and politicians. Movie maker. Michael makes movies. This is a way to get your ideals, concepts and thoughts across the world. Like, this is basically another, I know it's not quite direct, but metaphorically speaking it does link to Michael. Now, Blue Aura people are also highly intelligent and very intuitive. They certainly have the head and heart balanced in making difficult decisions and choices. They are incredibly good organisers and can motivate and inspire others. Now again, this, in my opinion, kind of points out how Michael is sort of the mediator. When Trevor goes wild, Michael has an incredible capability of actually keeping Trevor stable. If it was anyone other than Michael who did the things that he did to Trevor, he would be long gone by now. He would be dead. And I'm basing that upon what we know about our characters. But anyway, finally, about blue on this webpage, it tells us that people who have predominant amount of blue in their auras are peacemakers and have the ability to calmly smooth angry situations. So you see, that's what I was saying. People who have predominant amount of blue, Michael, blue marker, Auras are peacemakers and have the ability to calmly smooth out angry situations. Michael has done this on many occasions with Trevor. They prize truthfulness, direct communication and clarity in all their relationships. Now, I know that doesn't sound like Michael, but here's where it kind of explains itself. The downside of the blue aura personality is that they can take on too much, become workaholics and neglect their personal relationships. Now, taking on too much, becoming a workaholic and neglecting his personal relationship, that sums Michael up for me. And what do I mean by taking on too much? I mean that by taking on too much, he's actually, how would I put it? He's digging his own hole and he's burying himself in it. And because of his mentality and way of seeing things, he's kind of stuck in that. And because of that, he's fully invested in his criminal lifestyle, and also because of that, his personal relationship with his children and his wife are ruined pretty much. Like, there's nothing normal about all of that. So, finally, before I let you guys go, we do have one more page to visit on these colours. And this one hopefully is going to be pretty quick and not too complicated. But basically, orange is associated with the reproductive organs and how a person's emotions are bound to that region of the body. I can't count the amount of scenes where Trevor is obsessing over his personal organs and imitating sexual acts and all those kind of things. So again, orange does really fit in with Trevor. But here's where it kind of, some of them will make sense, some of them won't. You have bright orange. This shade indicates good health. Now, he's not necessarily in good health, but for the lifestyle he leads, he's not doing too bad. He's a pretty strong, active dude. Anyway, vibrancy and living life to its fullest. An overabundance of this hue could indicate that you're trying to overcome an addiction or desire. That as well kind of has a little bit of a correlation to Trevor and his drug use and also his addiction to certain women during the storyline. Orange red, you wield great personal power and give off an air of confidence. Yeah, that's pretty much mirroring Trevor, even if it's not personal power but such as more physical power. And orange yellow, the first part doesn't make too much sense. It says you have a scientific mind, maybe not quite so much, but and tend to be a bit of a perfectionist. You have a love for detailed work and mentally challenging projects. Trevor is not the brightest star in the sky, if you get my drift, but he is not an idiot nonetheless, and he does take on some pretty complex heists and does bring some pretty good insight to the certain situations, so he's not an idiot, so this does fit as well. But here we have blue, so this colour represents the throat, specifically the thyroid. If your aura is blue, you're intuitive and you love helping people. You remain calm during a crisis, others lean on you for support. Yeah, I suppose this is pretty relevant to Michael. He does stay kind of calm in comparison to certain other situations with, you know, Franklin and Trevor. But anyway, royal blue, this means that you are highly developed, spiritual or intuitive or clairvoyant. You have a very generous and giving spirit and you are always open to new possibilities. Dark blue, even cloudy, you don't trust the future and can't face the truth because of your desire to take control. And light blue, you're truthful and serene and you excel in all fields of communication. And finally the green, I wasn't going to read these out too much because I haven't quite made the links to all of them, but I'm just going to stick to the green, forest, nature, natural healer. So nature in as far as Franklin and green is concerned. Now again, I will remind you guys that this was kind of a last minute decision to post up this video because I just saw Wispy's video about Pegasus. I wanted to point out something that I knew previously about Pegasus that is very, very interesting. In my opinion, does hold quite a major connection once again. But yeah, again, if you haven't seen it, guys, please go and check out Wispy Woods' Jesus Toast episode 3 because I know Rockstar are the artists as far as creating the map goes, but Wispy is as much of an artist just for pointing that out, and he does deserve an enormous amount of credit just for that finding. And hopefully what I've pointed out about Pegasus, maybe he could jump on that as well when he gets 5 minutes. But anyway guys, I'm sorry for the kind of improvised, a little bit scatty video for today, but again, I'm available tomorrow and I will be doing what I was planning to do today in the first place. So until then, take it easy, thank you for tuning in, and see you guys.